Welcome to Food, Environment and Health Channel. In the next few minutes, you will find out why processed food is not good for human health, whether it is so-called healthy or fast food. What do you think? Do we live healthier today than before? Let's start with some good things. So, the average lifespan in 1900 was only 47 years. Today, in Europe people live on average 81 years, and it seems we can relax about this. It is really nice that the average human life in the modern world has extended by as much as 30 years over the last century. If this trend continues, by 2120, the average lifespan should be 110 years. But it is unlikely to happen unless there are significant changes in lifestyle or unless medicine performs a miracle. Now here are some facts that will not please us so much. More people are developing diabetes, more people have high blood pressure, and more people are obese, and because of all this, the lifespan has started to shorten, but we do not yet see this in the statistics because the generations affected by poor lifestyle are younger people who are yet to become part of the mortality statistics. So, in 1960, 1 in 100 people was diabetic, in 1995, 1 in 50 was diabetic, today 1 in 8 people is diabetic, and by 2050, 1 in 3 people will suffer from diabetes. Moreover, science still does not know all the health consequences of consuming processed food. We will only become aware of what processed food has done to us with the generations of children who are now going to school, because they will be the first generation whose genetics have been completely influenced by processed food, and only their health will reflect all the consequences of poor diet. First, it is clear that processed food affects the health of the person who consumes it. Second, we know that processed food consumed by a woman during her lifetime and pregnancy affects the health and life of the baby. For example, women who consume pastries, sweets, and snacks before and during pregnancy have a much higher chance of developing a temporary blood sugar disorder known as gestational diabetes during pregnancy. Gestational diabetes is associated with giving birth to overly large babies because sugar passes through the placenta. And when I say overly large, I mean newborns over 4 kilograms. We often brag about how our newborns are large, but there is a desirable limit for that because babies over 4 kilograms are called giants on glass legs, and you can already see from the name that something is not right. They have poor health, not only at birth, but also later in life. So, the processed food we use, and then our mothers used, is shortening our lifespan. But that's not all. Did you know that it also matters how our grandmothers ate during pregnancy? A person originates from the mother's egg cell. But that egg cell, along with all the genetic material it carries, is created at the moment the mother's ovaries are formed, meaning inside her mother's womb. In other words, the egg cell you originated from and your genes were formed in your grandmother's womb, and her diet and her health during pregnancy influenced the formation of your genetic material, which determines your entire life. Therefore, not only your lifestyle, but also the lives of the 2 previous generations determine your life. You're surely wondering what your grandmother might have eaten during her pregnancy. And this is the answer to why it takes a century of modern nutrition to know all the consequences. Only when the children whose grandmothers ate pastries with margarine, deep-fried food, sweets, and snacks grow up and start getting sick, and when their turn to die comes, will we know the real consequences of fast food and constant snacking. Along with fast food, we can add another problem, which is the issue of so-called healthy food. Everything but healthy food is sold in health food stores. They sell whole grain crackers that leave your bag greasier than from a fast food pie, linseed flakes that will raise your blood pressure because they have more salt than the Dead Sea, garish candies which are in every textbook as examples for additives, other sweets to measure, coconut oil which is no better than any other, cookies that have as many calories per 100 grams as chocolate. And all of this is sold as bulk goods, from which you can get hantavirus, as bugs and occasional mice roam there at night because the drawers and shelves are often open. How did we reach this so-called healthy, but in reality, processed food? A few decades ago obesity began, and then a culprit had to be found. And since fats have the most calories, they were culprit number one, and the mass production of fat-free or low-fat products began. For a while, the most important thing was to eliminate fats, and that was of course only possible if the content of something else was increased. And guess what increased? Of course, the intake of carbohydrates. Then it was realized that carbohydrates actually make you fat, that 3/4 of the world has insulin resistance and fatty liver degeneration due to carbonated drinks, and that muesli isn't the best choice neither for health nor for diet. And so we came to the conclusion, we need to cut out carbohydrates. And now there is the ongoing third revolution, called protein hysteria. The food industry has switched to proteins. Now we have protein shakes and bars everywhere. And of course, it won't be long before it's noticed that excessive protein intake isn't good either. When we conclude that we overdid it with proteins too, I don't know what will happen then, because we have already changed all the culprits. What should we eat then? We should eat unprocessed food. Such a simple answer. By this, I don't mean raw food. Today we learn to look at and interpret labels, and people in stores scrutinize labels trying to decipher the composition. But in fact, the healthiest is the unprocessed, meaning without a label and, of course, cooked dishes. So, let the grandmothers do something for our health too. Thank you for your attention. If you liked this video, please like and share this clip and consider subscribing to the channel to receive notifications about new videos on similar topics.